Hey, how you doing today? I am Taquila Coleman. In today's video, we're going to talk about holding on to God until He blesses you and the fourth prayer watch. So, in this God ordained love story, God, He will tell us to let go of our prodigal spouse, right? And he tell us to let go of the person for many different reasons, right? I like to compare it to when God told Abraham to take his son, his only son, and go sacrifice him, right? And it wasn't that God wanted him to, harm his son. God was testing Abraham's heart to see, do you love me more than you love your son? Will you still be obedient to me even after I give you the promise, right? So, and I believe that's what God is doing with us. When He asks us to let go of our spouses, it's a test of the heart. It's a test of your obedience. It's to make sure that you're not making this person an idol in your life, right? And then God would also tell us to let go of the person because maybe witchcraft is involved. Maybe both spouses not lining up to their biblical roles, and there's some disrespect going on in the love story, right? So there's many different reasons why God would tell you to let go of your spouse, right? However, when God tell you to let go of the spouse, He still wants you to hold on to His promise. He wants you to be like Jacob and wrestle with God until He blesses you. Okay, and so I want to turn your attention to the Book of Genesis, chapter 32, and we're gonna read verse 22. I'm gonna skip over. I'm gonna skip all around in this chapter, but Genesis chapter 32, verse 22. It say that night. I want you to underline night. That night, Jacob got up and took his two wives, his two female servants, and his 11 sons, and they crossed the ford. Right now, let's go down to verse 24. It says, "So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak." I want you to underline daybreak. Okay, so Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." Underline daybreak. But Jacob replied, "I would not let you go unless you bless me." And underline bless me. The man asked him, "What is your name?" Jacob, he answered. In verse 28, then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob received his blessing, okay, during a certain time period. Okay, Jacob received his blessing because he wrestled with God concerning his blessings. Okay, God changed his name. That's a blessing in itself. God is about to change your name, right? That's a blessing in itself. God changed his name because Jacob wrestled with God. Let's talk about the fourth prayer watch. The fourth prayer watch is from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. The reason why I told you to underline night in verse 22 of Genesis 32, and then also I had you to underline daybreak in verse 34, and then it repeats itself in verse 26 to say, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." Jacob was wrestling with the angel. This particular angel, okay, come between the hour of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., okay? And that is the time that you want to be intentional. Okay, you might got to set an alarm. You want to be intentional around between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. to wrestle with God. This is your time. When you wake up, you set your alarm and you begin to, put God in remembrance of his promises. You begin to ask God, bless me. You begin to tell God, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me, until you change my name, until you make my name great, until you do exactly what you promised me. This is the time when you want to present your request to the Lord, because this angel is assigned during this time from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. to just like how this angel, was going back and forth with Jacob. This angel's job is to take your request to the Lord, okay? And like bring the blessings of the Lord your way. So I want to make sure that you are strategic in your prayer. And if you think about it, I'm sure God has woken you up, plenty of night during this time. You probably didn't know why he was waking you up. You probably thought it was an attack, between 3 and 6 a.m. when God was waking you up. But no, God was waking you up because he's like, pray, put me in remembrance of my promise. Come on and plead with me. That's why the scriptures say, put me in remembrance of my word. Let us plead together. He's like, come on, this is the time, because this is the angel's assignment during this time. Okay, so set an alarm between 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And when your alarm go off, you get up and you begin. I want you to write this out before you go to bed. Write out, okay, all the blessings of the Lord. Write out the promises that the promises of God, the things God promised you. Write this stuff out. And then, when you set your alarm between 3 to 6 a.m., and when it go off, you get up and you begin to pray. You begin to be just like Jacob and say, God, I'm not letting you go until you bless me. I'm not letting you go until I see this promise come around full circle. I'm not letting you go until you change my name. I'm not letting you go until you make my name great. I'm not letting you go until you clear my name. Okay? So be strategic in your prayers, but also understand angels, they have certain assignments and certain time, okay, to grant your request. And this is the time between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. This is the fourth prayer watch that you want to be on your post and making your request known to the Lord. All right. So with that, I am Taquila Coleman. I'll talk to you real soon. Take care.